Hi, I'm Sue.
And I'm Lisa. We are retired teachers who each have taught over 30 years in elementary schools.
I started to write a book about all the funny things that happened to me as an educator, but I couldn't get anyone to read it. So my friend Lisa here, who is also hysterical,
I am,
decided to share these stories together out loud.
And so was the birth of our podcast.
We didn't know
what we didn't know.
Sit back and enjoy.
Teachers can be inspiring, helpful, uplifting, and kind. I'm sure a lot of these teachers come to your mind. But every once in a while, a teacher falls from grace. A sneer, insult, embarrassment, or just getting in your face. Although we hold most of our teachers near and dear, this Halloween season, we'll focus on those we feared.
How are you doing?
I'm great, and I want to tell you I enjoyed that poem very much.
Thank you. I have a little time on my hands now that I'm just laid up with. My knee is holding me captive.
Yes. Today's our Halloween episode, and I'm excited.
It's been a year since we decorated my classroom.
Yes. For those of you on Facebook and Instagram, go back in our feed to last year and watch the speeded up version of us decorating Lisa's classroom. I mean, I'll try to pull the link on our notes here, but magic.
I showed my granddaughter. She's like, ooh, scary. She's 4.
Yeah, she's 4.
That was so much fun. So now we've decorated pumpkins, and it's been fun. I love Halloween. Even though, I'm not in school, it'll be super fun.
Yeah.
So
it's different. Yeah. It's different. I have Larry the Scarecrow sitting outside. I build him every year.
That's fun. You don't carve pumpkins?
Not until I have someone in my life that's under 12. I don't have anyone in my life right now under 12. So no.
Our podcast today is about teachers that have kind of haunted us.
Teachers who haunt us, indeed.
And we've all had them.
Yes. Have we not?
And being that this is a comedy, we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, this is an important story because I ran into a former parent, and this is one of my favorite students of all time. She was an awesome student. We had the best year together, and all the mom wanted to convey to me was how upset this little boy had made her that she was bullied by this kid, and that's all she remembers about her year. And I'm like, seriously, dude,
Aww.
we put on plays, and we had awesome parties, and we just did all kinds of things. And she was reading at a really high level, and we let her do novels. And I even said to the mother, that's what you remember? I'm a teacher who haunts children. And that's so it's us too. It's us too.
One thing that I've learned through the years is that you don't always remember all the little things that you did, but what you do hold on to are your feelings.
Yes.
So when you look back at memories, you'll remember little bits of situations and those kind of things, but generally you remember how you felt. And so a lot of times we look back at our education or growing up, and those feelings like excitement or extreme like embarrassment, they're so intense feelings that you hold on to those and you remember them. And unfortunately, we a lot of times tend to hold on to some of those negative things that have happened because you were so emotional at that time, but you don't remember the 90% of awesomeness things. And so sometimes I think teachers get bad raps because people hold on to those little.
It's what they remember.
Just those little. Like I had this little oops moment, where we're all human and we make mistakes. But people hold on to that instead of all the amazing, wonderful things.
That being said, let's share some of our haunting moments. So let's go back and forth, Lisa, and then we'll have some friends share some of theirs. So tell us a time you had a teacher who haunted you and still does.
Well, I had a teacher in elementary school. This was a total oops moment that she did. That has stuck with me. But I was a little afraid of her. She was kind of strict. And I spilled my milk because we had milk break. And I spilled it all over my pants. And it was really and I had jeans on, and she got very, very upset with me and yelled at me for spilling milk all over my pants. And I think I was like, I was little, so she wouldn't let me call home. So I sat all day with wet milk pants. And so when I got home, I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
That I took my pants off and I hid them under my bed.
Oh, I bet it was lovely.
Oh, and it was a long time, but when my mom finally found them, they were all this clump of hard, clumpy, milky smelling, gross, moldy pants. And then I told her that I got in trouble for spilling milk on my pants.
Yeah,
so,
well,
that was a teacher horn.
Oh, I could probably go through each grade, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and so on. Not first grade. Mrs. Zemelis, you were awesome. But in second grade, Mrs. Anderson, you rocked. I loved her. But third grade, I'll tell a story later from when we recorded this before. But fourth grade, just quickly, we had a teacher, her last name was Boyle. And I'm sorry, Mrs. Boyle, may you rest in peace. But she liked me because I was a brown noser. But she was a very, very large woman. Now, it was the 70s, so who knows? She probably wasn't even that large. But for then, we used to call her Mrs. Boyle over because she got to this point and she just would, she just boil over. And her necks, she had many, many necks. Well, you know what I mean? She had like folds, and they would turn red and jiggly. I'm sorry, I was a little kid. Forgive me, I was 10. It was 48 years ago. Well, Mrs. Boilover would just boil, just blah, 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 and it was sort of something we looked for. So that's probably bad on me, but sorry, Miss Boilover. How about you? Oh, you go. I thought of another one. Okay.
Well, I spent a lot of one of my years in elementary school with my nose in the corner.
You have a lovely nose. It's very small.
I wasn't a naughty kid. I'm still a rule follower, and I'll be a little bit of a follower and join in, but I was never a naughty kid. But every time I would get caught like talking or whatever, get your nose in.
They had to put your nose in the corner?
Yes, doing that. We were a whole row of us standing there with our nose, against the wall. Oh. And she would just explode. She'd be like, "Stop, get your nose in the corner." And so that was the 1 year too. She told me that she was going to sign me up for summer school because I needed help with schoolwork. And I was devastated because I was kind of a smart kid.
Yeah, I know you're smart.
But, well, if you put a kid with their nose against the wall, I was so traumatized thinking that I had to go, because back then it was like the dumb kids had to go to summer school. In my head, that's what I was thinking. Right. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to go to summer school. And so, that's
pretty traumatic.
I did not have to go to summer school, and I eventually figured out how to not get my nose in.
Yeah, that's the key. You figured it out. You figured out how to get out of it. Well, I had a fifth grade teacher, and it was my first experience with a male teacher, and that was kind of cool. I liked it. But I realized he really didn't know our name because he had nicknames, and they were kind of related to your name, but I was like, this one kid's last name was like Rude or something, and so he called him Rudy Toot Toot. So he kind of knew it, but I don't think he knew his real name. He goes Rudy Toot Toot, and he just called me Blondie or whatever. I'm like, 2/3 of my class was blonde, because it was, Wisconsin in the 1970s. Blondie. I'm like, what? And a lot of kids were named Lisa and Sue, and there were a lot of kids named Sue, but he didn't know our names. So I just thought,
boy named Sue.
Boy named Sue. Run around Sue, blue suede shoes. I don't know. He did not know our names. He really didn't. I know.
It's kind of funny, like if it is an endearing nickname kind of thing, that's funny. But if you're truly knowing that they don't know your name, so they're just making up stuff, that's so insulting.
Well, I have a true confession, just real briefly. I've been substitute teaching at our old school, and there was this little kindergartner back when I was really teaching, and her sister was in my third grade class. So this kindergartner loved me, and she would hang. She would jump up and put her arms around my neck and hang, and I called her Necklace. She's a teeny little girl. Well, guess what? Fast forward, she is in fourth grade, and I still don't know her name, and I just call her Necklace, and she's like 5'6", and so am I. I'm like, oh, Nicholas. And then I'll even say, what's that girl's name? And they'll tell me it's Trisha or whatever. I'm like, okay, Trisha. And then I see her again. Boom. Necklace. I'm getting old. I can't remember her name. So Necklace, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
I have a hard time with names.
Yes.
I really do. I think I have like some kind of learning disability remembering names. And so I give them a disclaimer. I'm like, I am so sorry. I will throughout the year mess up your names. And it's not out of disrespect. It's out of ageism.
Right.
But remember Janet. Love Janet.
Janet was great.
She was a veteran teacher. So she would always, when kids would come up, she'd go, hey, you.
Oh, yes, sweetie patootie. Yeah.
Oh, sweetie, oh, honey, stuff like that. And she never used their names.
Nope. That was brilliant.
And so I figured that out, why she was doing it. Because like when you're out in the store and you see somebody that's a past, but they look so much older and you can't quite, sometimes you look and you're like, oh, that's Bianca. No way. But some of them have changed so much. So you're like,
hey, you, sweetie peanut.
And I'm doing the exact same thing. So I had 3 favorite subjects in school: recess, art. And Phi-Ed. Recess particularly.
And that's not a class, child.
I know, but those are my favorite. Music too. I did like music. I think it's 7th or 8th grade. She decided that everybody needed to learn the 40 prepositions. And, at, but, in, of, onto, up, for, between.
Look how you learned them, sweetheart.
Well, we had to memorize the 40 prepositions because we spent almost the whole year diagramming sentences. Yeah, we could not go to recess unless we had to memorize. Well, I'm not really good at rote memorization. I could not memorize them. And it was weeks. I'm missing my favorite time of the day. I have to go in and practice. It started off with the whole class, and then it kept dwindling down. And then there'd be 10 of us there, and there'd be 5. And then I was just Lisa.
Oh, that it wasn't working.
It was not working. And I'm in there just crying. And finally, my dad sat down with me because I let him know that because we didn't really talk about school at all. No. What did you learn today?
Nothing.
Okay,
Thanks.
So he helped me write out kind of stories with those mnemonic devices. And finally, I got through them, but it was a long time. And oh my God, even teaching now prepositions, I'm like, prepositions, at, by, in, of, onto, up, for, out, between.
The thing is, I always say this to people who aren't willing to understand that just rote learning, it has its place. But do you want to go to a dentist from the 1940s and 50s? No, you should not want to be taught by someone whose expansive knowledge has ended in the 50s with, corporal punishment and let's just rote learn everything and sit still and shut up. So I just try to make a point that we have a lot of advances in many things: technology, dentistry, medicine, and education. And we know a little bit more now. So I have a great story as we've advanced into our middle school years. I had a teacher in chemistry and I enjoyed chemistry. It was fine, but actually this was high school. And we had a teacher and I can't remember his name except we called him Snortin' Kenny. Very disrespectful. Snortin' Kenny. Well, he was so boring. And he would just stand at the board and teach like it was the 1950s and just write on the board and talk. Well, we all were so bored.
Did he have a board party? Did he have his own little chalkboard party?
Pretty much. Except there was one addition for all of us to enjoy. He talked, and as he talked, he would like that. He snorted snot like that. And so we all got together. And of course, I was sitting in the front. And I said, okay, I was a good kid, but I also thought of lots of pranks. I said, let's tally how many times he snorts. And we were paying close attention because we were listening for the snorts. He would just be like, and now for this chemical reaction. And we were at 99. And the bell rang.
Oh my God.
And
was it a tick? Did he have a tick?
I don't. I must. Oh, probably. I feel bad now that you say that. So yeah, he probably had Tourette's. Yeah, no, we didn't. I know people with Tourette's. That's different. I think he just had mucus. So at the 99 and the bell rang, we all went, ah! And I think he thought we were sad the lecture was over. Snortin' Kenny. He's probably still alive.
I had a middle school teacher that when he talked.
Oh, spitter.
And he would,
Oh.
and so we'd all just be like, "Oh, please don't make me sit the front."
Oh.
He kind of
Spitting.
and you'd sit and be like, "Oh," you know.
Well, you should have brought umbrellas. Why you have umbrellas? No reason.
Really, really, really nice teacher, just awesome, but he just would spray like you wouldn't believe it. Okay, so I have another funny story. This is a college story. I had a teacher that English was very limited as far as articulation wise. You know, he had such a strong accent. And I think he was from Japan, but his accent was so strong that I, for some reason, could not understand anything he was saying.
Yeah.
And it was a genetics class.
Ooh,
and I sat there for the whole semester. I could not understand one word he said except for fruit fly.
Fruit fly.
And so, fruit fly. And
we should be laughing.
All I had in my notes was fruit fly. And so I found some of my college materials probably about 10 years ago. I found a box full of like college.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
And I found my genetics and I opened up and it said, fruit fly. Now I just heard another frickin' fruit fly. God. Fruit fly. Oh, my God, it was so funny. So I spent like the whole semester writing little notes about fruit flies because I could not understand a word he said. And I think he realized this because all of his tests came out of the book.
Wow.
It was grueling.
Oh, that's funny. And I had a professor from Norway. It's like there was marbles in his mouth. And I'm sure that's how I sound. If I go to Norway and start trying to speak Norwegian, I'm sure they feel the same way. But he was saying paradigm shift in a Norwegian accent.
Paradigm shift.
I was in a class. It was really important for education. And sadly, I don't remember what it was. But he was talking about paradigms. First of all, I'm 17, 18. I'm in college, freshman class. I don't know what paradigm means. And I thought he was saying shit. And I'm like, what is this dime shit? And I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I remember looking it up and finally I realized it was paradigm shift and I still didn't know what that meant. So now I do. So look it up. So, do you have any more?
I had a professor once that every single day his fly was down. And he would always sit up on his desk in the front and kind of like shake his legs back and forth.
Maybe he wanted to. It was
open. It'd be like open, close, open, close. And it was so hard. Like I have ADHD. So it was really hard because I would hyper focus on that. And I
You should have left him a secret note. Hey, dude, your fly's open.
And then he put his hand in his pocket and everybody go, no.
Oh my gosh. That is, yeah. Oh, do you know that the first time we met, we have two stories here. I had the smoking teacher, because teachers could smoke back in the day in the teacher's lounge. So do you want to listen to those now? All right, let's put that on right now.
A negatively inspired teacher. Yeah. I did have one teacher in elementary school. She was always looking in her purse. And she'd lean down behind her desk and she'd be picking up her purse. And we always were kind of wondering, like, what is she doing looking in her purse? Well, now in hindsight, we realized she was drinking out of her purse.
Oh, no.
Did you do anything naughty in school?
I popped a bag in the lunchroom. Just pop that bag. Got in so much trouble. Devastated.
It was different, you know. School is way different now than it was back in the 70s when we were children, that's for sure. Yeah, so I think through the years, you know, having experiences like that, said, you know what, I think I can do this better. Yeah.
And I think you and I had similar teaching styles that we've evolved in the same manner. I have one from third grade. When I was in third grade, so that'd been 1973, but my third grade teacher didn't like children. And apparently you really should like children if you are going to be a teacher. If you don't like children, here's what I didn't know. You should like children. Well,
number one criteria.
I remember I was bossy and I liked school. Oh my. I sat with good posture. Okay. Anyway, I was a brown noser. I admit it. And
Were you the front of the class, Sarah?
well, sometimes to be a good role model.
Yeah, I was kind of more at the back of the class.
Okay, well, this is the thing though. In third grade, I shifted to the dark side with you because this teacher would leave the classroom to have a smoke break. I mean, the teacher's lounge. Remember the teacher's lounge?
Oh my gosh, you'd go and knock on the door, and then the door would open, and there'd just be this cloud, whoosh, and you'd throw your hair back with all the smoke.
And then you hear, get out of here. You don't belong here.
So glad that's not allowed anymore.
No. Well, she would go to smoke her Marlboro Lights, and I knew because she had the hard pack, and
Hard pack.
she had the hard pack.
How'd you know that?
I just know it, and it's another story. Well, she would leave, and she would, of course, not say I'm going to have a smoking break, but she would slide my desk. They were attached, the chairs to the desk, and they were really heavy. She'd slide me forward, and all the kids would see this, and they'd just roll their eyes. They'd say, now, Susie here is going to be right next to the chalkboard, and here's your chalk. And if you see anyone getting out of their seats or making mischief, I want you to write their names down.
Oh, you were the spy?
Okay, but tell you what, Lisa, I never did it. I mean,
okay,
come on.
Good.
I'm going to try really hard not to swear on this podcast, but she was the bleeping bleepity bleep. And I was like, my eyes popped wide open. And I'm like, you're a bleepity bleepity
to be
bleep.
chosen.
I didn't want to be chosen
You
for
were the
that.
chosen
It was
one.
awful. And then I could send some of my really good friends pushing me away. And so I refused to do it. And I think, and of course we can make up stuff as we go here, I think I dropped a chalk on the floor. I mean, that was really naughty.
Oh my goodness.
It smashed into at least like 4 pieces. So her nice pristine chalk was crushed. Well, and you have to understand, my sister had the same teacher, and she's 4 years younger than me. And when we talk about Mrs. So-and-so, we cry. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
it's funny now. It's kind of, I mean, makes you rest. Okay. Lisa, I think we've had our time to tell all of our stories, teachers who haunt us. Should we let some of our friends give their stories now?
Perfect.
My brother has a story that has stayed with my family, well, for over 45 years. And it's about a teacher who haunts him. But the story is so funny that I'd like him to tell it. So my brother Dave is on the phone now, and he's going to tell the story of Mr. V and the number 1 machine. First, I think we should say a little bit about what Mr. V looked like.
Yeah, so he was the physical education teacher in junior high. This is back a millennium ago when you had junior highs, not middle school. Coming in as a little 7th grader at this time. And Mr. V, 6'9", big guy.
But muscular.
And I don't think I had hit 100 pounds in 5 feet at that point. Yeah, very intimidating. And he liked to use that. It was good. He was good. And I wouldn't say this is a haunting story. Maybe at the time it was. Now it's
Oh, right. I mean, the stories that we're telling, we're trying to fit it to Halloween because we're elementary teachers, but it kind of was something that would replay in your head. So I'm just going to sit back. I got my coffee here, Dave. Just tell the story of Mr. V and the number 1 machine.
Well, okay. So first day of junior high PE, and we get a tour of the locker room, which is like unique, right? Because you're coming from elementary school, there's no locker room and that stuff. And you got to like change into your gym clothes and all this other stuff. And you're like looking around all wide-eyed, like what is going on? And then he gives us a tour. Okay, just the little baskets where you put your clothes, all this stuff, and then here's your lock for the little basket to lock up everything. Okay, and you're like, okay, I got to remember all this. And then he walks into the bathroom part and he points to the urinals.
Oh, yeah, urinals.
And then the stalls.
And
the sink.
Okay.
And he goes, I got to explain to you how to use this room. And he points to the urinal and he goes, this is the number 1 machine. You do a number 1 in the number 1 machine. And you know, you have the numbers for bodily functions.
Yes. Did we get that taught to us?
I don't know. I assume it was just, you figured it out.
You figured it out. Okay. Because we didn't talk about that.
On the street. On the street lights.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So he goes, this is the number 1 machine. You do a number 1 in the number 1 machine. Then he points to the stall. He goes, this is number 2 machine. You do number 2 in the number 2 machine.
Okay.
And he points to the sink. And he says, this is the number 3 machine. You wash your hands with the number 3 machine. That's the number 3.
Okay.
And he said, we have rules. He goes, you can do a number 1 in the number 2 machine. He goes, I don't want you to do a number 2 in the number 1 machine. And no one is allowed to do a number 1 or a number 2 in the number 3 machine. And so we're all like, should I take notes on this? No. So it was, yeah. And I think we were successful through that whole year.
But didn't you say that you could do a number 3 anywhere you really wanted? No.
He did. Actually, he said, if you want to do a number 3 in the number 1 or the number 2, that's up to you.
Oh, that's good stuff. Yeah, for years.
Ironically,
yes,
he was my driver's ed teacher, like whatever that was.
Years later. I think he was mine as well. Yeah, he was an intimidating guy. There is actually a picture out there on social media, which I know you don't enjoy, but he is lifting a kid from, I believe it's from 1977, so that would be around your years.
Yeah.
And he's lifting a kid like a dumbbell, not a dumbbell, like weights.
Yep.
Like weights, and like the kid's body is the bar. Yeah, just bench pressing. No, what's it called? Deadlifting?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave. I appreciate you telling the story because you tell it the best.
Yeah. It's something you don't forget.
I was about 7 or 8 at this point, and I was transferring to a new elementary school. Now, my old elementary school, my whole family, parents, everyone called me by my middle name, Otto. And when we went to this new elementary school, before the first day of school, we sat down with the teacher just to do like a meet and greet. And it was me and my parents, because I was 7 or 8, I wasn't alone here. And we were very transparent. They said Skylar likes to be called by his middle name, Otto. And I was like, yep. Like, Otto, I prefer Otto. My parents were like, even we call him Otto, everyone calls him Otto. That's what he goes by. And new second grade teacher just goes, no, I'm not calling him by that. And my parents were like, what? She's like, nope, first names only. First name, legal names only. No nicknames, no nothing. And from there on, I was known as Skylar, no longer Otto. That's the teacher that stuck with me to this day, you know? She won't be teaching anymore. You know, I don't think she was very PC.
That's terrible.
A haunted teacher time for me, well, actually, it was haunted years. I was in a multi-age classroom. I was in 4th grade with 5th graders, and then they moved us, and I was in 5th grade with 6th grade. So when I was in 5th grade, I struggled with my math facts. Yes, they're so important, math facts.
I know, really.
So I struggled with my math facts, and the teacher would make us go up to the board and compete against each other to see who could do the math facts the fastest. Well, I struggled a lot. Well, I got through my math facts at this one competition time, and she went, yay, she did it. Everybody clap for her.
Oh.
And then she came over and gave me a prize, which was some of those little paints, you know, where it had all the different paints and the paintbrush and used water paint, and handed me that and made the class clap for me because I finally got through my math facts. That is something that has haunted me for years. I'm afraid of math facts.
Oh, how embarrassing. Oh, I'm sorry.
Went to a one-room country school, and we got surplus commodities at that time for our lunch. And our teacher would put them on the hot plate, and we'd get cream-style corn, and she would burn it every time we had it. Scorch it till it was very hard to eat. And we couldn't eat it, it was so bad, but she made us. We always took our milk to school in a fruit jar or a small thermos, and we would try to drink our milk real fast and get the burnt cream-style corn in our milk jug, and she would catch us every time and make us eat it. Therefore, I no longer can stand cream-style corn.
In high school, I had a chemistry teacher who, for whatever reason, didn't really like me. And so whenever I would get something wrong, he would tap my head with the end of a meter stick while he's saying, Julie is a dummy, Julie is a dummy. It's horrible. It is horrible.
My teacher horror story is that I had a teacher who told me that I couldn't use the big words in my writing anymore, that I could only use the words that I knew how to spell. And basically that if I couldn't spell it, I couldn't use those words. So I had to dumb down my vocabulary. So that kind of just always, I don't know, kind of scarred, stuck with me about how bad my spelling was and that I wasn't allowed to use the bigger words.
Oh my gosh. Yikes. Those are some hauntings.
Well, Sue, it was fun talking about teachers of haunted house.
It was.
I wonder how many students we have haunted in our 34 years of teaching.
I'm sure there's one or two. And if we've haunted you,
Maybe.
too bad. So I'm going to take some time. I'm not going to make any pumpkins, but this is what I'm making for a Halloween party. It's pretzels that look like cigarettes, and they're covered in chocolate and and see this cigarette right here? I'm going to eat it. That's for you. That's
So you took a pretzel rod and you dipped it in white, and then what's the black on the end?
Oreos. And then this one, I used red standing sugar to look like a lit cigarette. Hey, I don't have any 12-year-olds to carve pumpkins with, so I just sit around and make...
What are you doing with those? Did you just do it to be funny?
No, I am going to a Halloween party. Well, Lisa, it seems our time here is done. So many tales to tell, and so little time. Happy Halloween, everyone. Happy Halloween. We'll see you in November.